And so it begins. Episode 3. We back at you. And what I'm going to talk about today is the feeling of guilt, shame, burden, and all the emotions and feelings that surround this topic. But before we start, wherever you're at in the world, stop judging yourself. Stop overthinking what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, what you're not doing right, what you're not doing at all. Jump into this conclusion, making these presumptions that life has to be a certain way in order for you to be happy is a form of desire. Now, through all the religions and through all the philosophies in the world, there is one major component, one major factor that brings all of them together. And that is the practice of detachment. And there's a quote that goes like, non-detachment or detachment is the practice of letting go all the emotions and feelings that create suffering, whether it be trash cans in the background, a truck in the background, whether the camera is set up straight, whether the voice memo is recording properly. It doesn't matter. Detachment is the practice of letting go all ideas and emotions that create suffering. So, whether you read Lao Tzu, Jesus Christ, you study Hinduism, Buddhism, all these sorts of things, all of them practice the same thing: finding peace, letting go. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And you know how we start off the videos? You know what I like to do? Let's exhale first. You're just feeling the air fill up your lungs. You're feeling the closeness and the cleansing happen, a deep cleaning, a restart, to come back to the center. And as you come back to your center, we don't carry the heaviness of judgment and desire and expectation and obligation and all these things that hinder us. What we are practicing now is a form of self-awareness, a form of mindfulness. You're doing the best that you can. And that's okay. It's not a pity party. It's not, oh, you're doing the best that you can. You're going to be okay. Nah. That's awesome that you're still trying at life. Right before I started this video, I was watching this Mike Tyson interview, and he was talking about his life and some heavy stuff that came with it. But he had mentioned 15 and 16-year-olds that commit suicide. And I know that's heavy now, but hear me out. To be in that position or mentality where you feel that you've already experienced enough life and you hate something or you hate yourself that much to the point when you have to end your life at such a young age is sad. Not that I feel sad for them, but the fact that a lot of us are walking around right now and feeling this pain. So as you're watching this video and you're looking at me, looking at you, what we're practicing now, what we're doing now, what we're exercising now is a transference. I'm taking all of that pain, all of those heavy thoughts, your depression, your manic episodes, I'm taking them with me right now. So that when you finish with this video, they are no longer yours. You have a clean slate. Choose to be happy. Choose happiness. Choose that things actually worked out. Choose the reality where you win every time. Because you will win every time. I like to say, I don't ever lose. Why? Because I either learn how to do it or I learn what not to do. And to me, both sides of that coin are a win. It's a dub. Both are each step closer to achieving what I consider in my own personal fantaron to be success. Not based on the success of the world and all these things and superficial illusions, this front that I'm better, or this front that I'm healthier than you. There's a quote by, I actually don't know who says this quote, but a healthy man does not torture others. It might be Carl Jung. I could be mistaken. But if you are healthy, teach. If you are strong, teach strength. If you are wholesome, teach wholesomeness. If you are happy, teach happiness. If you are wealthy, teach wealth. Because it wasn't just that long ago that we weren't that. And matter of fact, we're not that all the time as far as being healthy or being on top of things. I remember when I got into my accident as a kid, I had decided early on, I said, be the friend you always wish you had. Be the friend you always wish that you had. And as we watch this video and as we continue on with our mindfulness, one of the greatest keys that I can give you guys, a secret, so to speak, is the practice of compassion. Oh my God. There's been so many times when I thought that the world was against me, or it was me versus me, or times when I thought I hated myself, or I hated the world, or I thought the world hated me. Family, friends, cousins, homies, girlfriends, whatever it may be, all this anxiety, this anxiousness. And, I shook myself out of it, Shake it off. And as you let that go and you shake that off, you think about, okay, well, what do I do now? And I'm going to tell you, you be there for someone that actually needs someone. And maybe they already do, but they don't have you. Everyone walking planet Earth today knows something that you do not know, just as much as you know something that they don't know. And the universal language is compassion. You must remember that we're all grown-up kids. Your parents were once your age, a child. They were once a child, a teenager, a 6-year-old, a baby. Their parents, your grandparents, they were somebody else's kids. And your great-grandparents, they were also somebody else's kids. We're all grown-up kids. We don't know why we're here. We didn't choose to be born, we just were. But we're all trying our best. And that's all that matters. So when it comes to feelings of guilt or shame or burden or heaviness and regret, there's two lessons. You'll never lose, because both sides of that coin are dubs. You learn that what you're doing is correct, or you learn another way of not to do it, which brings you closer to the way that is the way that you want to practice your life, the way that you would love to live. So don't carry the cross or this pain of, fuck, I messed up and I'll never be okay, I'll never be enough. That's the illusion of mind. That's the inner child that did not receive enough love, or maybe too much, where you didn't take on the world independently enough to know that it wasn't always going to be that easy, and to learn that everyone's life isn't easy. That comes with wisdom, and experience. And whether you have that now or you don't, doesn't matter. It's not a competition. It's not a race. What are you going to win? What's there to win? You are dying. It's the same prize for all of us. We're only here once in a lifetime, as far as we know. There's theories, there's religions, there's space, there's stars, and all these other ideologies and theories. They're all theory. Nothing is a fact. There's no science behind it. Nobody's ever died and came back to life and said, hey guys, like there's, a golden gate with this and that. No. It'll never be done. It's never been done in the last 10,000 years of human civilization. So what's there to compete for? What are you gaining? If it's not love, if it's not compassion, if it's not a closeness, a togetherness, a unity, to be seen, to not be invisible, to be understood, what is it that you're trying to gain? What is it that you're trying to prove? There's nothing to prove to anyone, to anybody, not even to yourself. You were born. You didn't choose this. There's not a goal. There's not a to-do list. The only thing that is to live. Live well. To love the life that you live. Now, that comes along with ambitions and passions and things like that. But that's ambition and passion. That's not the same as saying, if I don't do this, I ain't shit. You are. You were born, and that's enough. You get to experience this humanness once. Grief, inspiration, sadness, a song that you can just put on repeat over and over and over. And each time you play it, it sounds better and it gets better and it becomes more of your favorite song. You get to experience anxiousness. But then you also get to experience, damn, I never had that food before, but now that I have, it's my favorite of all time. I always get it when I come to this restaurant. There will never be a time when I eat this and not be happy. All of these are a part of the human experience. Now, when things are going well, make the most out of it. Because as you and I both know, things aren't always going to go well. And there will be challenge. But just because there's challenge does not mean that it's not an opportunity to reflect and become retrospective in the way where it's like, how may I improve my life when faced with this challenge? There's a book by Dr. Dennis Waitley. It's called The Psychology of Winning. One of my favorite books of all time. If you're in need of something new or a hobby, or you just want to, buy something. Sometimes I'm on a binge where I like to buy clothes, or I got like these rings, you know what I'm saying, bust down. Invest into this book. I've bought this book for about 7 of my friends, and I've given it away each time. And I recently just, repurchased it and started underlining, some chapters and some things that I missed. But in this book, the reason why I love this book is because it is so black and white. Winners do this, losers do that. Winners say this, losers say that. And in this book, a lot better than I can paraphrase now, there's clear definitions and clear examples of making excuses and examples of beating yourself up, going through all these different methods of expiation, trying to alleviate the feeling, when instead of doing something practical. Now, just because you do something practical doesn't mean that you are emotionless. No, I actually believe the contrary. I think that when you are practical and moving pragmatically and logically, that you understand that emotions are important. And shoving all these clothes in the closet and shoes under the bed and socks on the floor, instead of picking up the socks, putting them in a dirty hamper, grabbing your shoes, putting them on the shoe shelf, or putting them in your closet, wherever you like to put your shoes. Instead of actually doing something practical about it, what we often do is try to, like I mentioned, alleviate or expiate this feeling. Instead of doing something about it where we could actually feel better, we want to catch that quick shortcut where it's like, yeah, but hey, this happens to everybody, or I'm just, this and that. And there are days, where mental health days come into play, and of course, take your time. Absolutely, take your time. There's no rush. But when it comes with challenge, and a challenge that you become aware of, don't get the shortcut. Practice an act of self-love where you say, okay, my emotions are important. I will do this and do that, so that by the time that this deed is done, I can lay back and know that my feelings will be well, opposed to ignoring it, trying to feel better about it, and it's still being there. Because, believe it or not, it's still going to be there, later on. And then that feeling that you thought you felt better about is going to resurface. It's gonna trigger you. So, do what's in front of you slowly, intentionally. Take your time. Don't judge yourself. There's no competition. You're not in a race. The only thing to do is to live and live well. I'd come up with this quote. I'm so excited to tell you guys. I had come up with this when I was 16, maybe 17. I was in high school. And this was when the bulk of my studies had, come into play because, I had a girlfriend at the time and we were together and things. But when we weren't together, it was just me. Or even before her, it was just me and my cousin. We just played games and things like that. I never really went out that much. And when I did, I just, was just out. I didn't really smoke or drink, things like that. I just kind of kept shit cool, so it didn't really interest me until later on in life. Now it's just like, what up? But back then, one of my hobbies that I would do or invest in was going to Barnes & Noble. And I would get a passion tea grande with 8 pumps of sweetener. And as soon as I got this, I would make my way down the personal development aisle or down the poetry section or the art. I'm a big fan of astrology. Every time, it's kind of, random, but hey, Maybe you guys can take this from me, but anytime that I feel anxious or caught up in in my body, in my head, and I can't get out of my head, and I feel suffocated, by the fact that, oh shit, like, what the fuck is life? I always look up astrology and not astrology, astronomy, excuse me, astronomy, and I think about how in the past all of our ancestors lived under the same stars. We're not on a new planet. This is still the same planet. And, reading through those facts and looking through those telescopes and, seeing the pictures and the diagrams and whatever, it's just fascinating to me. It makes me feel like whoever had created this, superb. It's a fabulous job. You did great. There's stars in the sky. Just look up to the stars in the sky. Look at the moon. Look at the sun. Go to Barnes & Noble. Practice non-attachment, detachment. Practice being non-judgmental to others, to yourself. And remember that you will never lose. Each time you do something, each time you take a risk, whether you are successful in this endeavor or not, you learn that it works or you learn how it doesn't. And to learn how it does not brings you a step closer to the way that it does. And as I mentioned earlier, everything that you feel that you can't talk about with anyone else, you don't even have to say it to me right now or say it to yourself. What I'm telling you now is I'm taking it from you. You don't have a choice. It's now mine. I'll deal with it. I'll take that, put it exactly where it needs to go. You are now free from the burdens and the guilt and the shame of things that you think can't be undone. In life, anything is possible. You are a fucking miracle. Remember this. Live well. For some reason, I feel like I want to say I love you. I love you. Don't ever forget that. That the spirit in me salutes the spirit in you.